So, Jason, obviously, topic of discussion today, Elizabeth Dooley, been kind of a storyline that you've been following personally throughout the semester. So, can you kind of just tell us about what just happened, what all you know about the situation?
Yeah, sure. I'll start up with some back history and just kind of get set up the scene what happened today, leading up to today. In January, there was a anonymous Twitter account called UCF Corruption or Fraud. We've talked about UCF Fraud and Corruption, sorry, or Corruption and Fraud. It stands for UCF if you couldn't tell that. And we've talked about this on the show before. Just because it's an anonymous Twitter account doesn't mean what it's sharing is real, but it was sharing these screenshots of text messages and information and all this stuff and claiming that it was being sent back and forth by Provost Elizabeth Dooley, and there was no real proof to it. And then until all of a sudden, you know, that Dooley on paid leave officially on January 10th, kind of out of the blue, it was a Friday news dump. They just said it was because of recently raised concerns, and they would be conducting an investigation. And then about a month or two went by, and we didn't really hear anything about it. Actually, in February, we emailed the university and just asked, is she still an employee at UCF? And the investigation was still ongoing. And ever since then, we had been kind of left in the dark, and obviously we didn't know what this meant. Obviously, with UCF and everyone being put on remote because of the coronavirus, and I honestly had kind of forgotten about it to be honest with you until I got an email just a few hours ago, earlier in the afternoon, saying she made the decision to step down from her position for personal reasons. I don't know what the investigation entails. UCF's been really quiet about that. We do know I actually asked, it's still ongoing, which is interesting because, she's stepping down as provost of the university and the vice president for academic affairs. And she actually is returning to the faculty as at the College of Community Innovation and Education. Seymour wrote in his email to the staff today. Michael Johnson, who was the dean of the Nicholson School of Communications, he still will continue as interim provost and help with the presidential transition to bring in Alexander Cartwright as the new president of UCF. So I have to imagine once Cartwright gets in here, his first day is April 13th. Within the coming weeks, he'll probably maybe make Michael Johnson the full-time provost, or bring in someone from his own team. That's a little unclear, but Dooley is going to return to the faculty, and she was assigned a summer 2020 term, and she's still going to get paid 80% of her compensation. But this kind of came out of nowhere. She just left for personal reasons, and like I said, the investigation is still ongoing.
So, a couple questions. First of all, what does the timing of this have to say after such a period of just being in the dark, and all of a sudden this is just kind of random? To your point, what does the timing have to say about this?
Yeah, it's weird when you put it up against the fact that there's a world pandemic going on. Universities, Central Florida, and all the state universities are currently online. Students are being kicked off of campus. It just seems like there's a lot more, important things. People are asking for parking refunds and refunds regarding dorms, and everything is being switched around, and the whole world's come to a halt because of this coronavirus pandemic. And that's why it felt out of ordinary. Just boom, she resigned due to personal reasons. Obviously Alexander Cartwright was previously just last week was named the provost or the president elect, and then the board of governors approved him. So maybe they were waiting for the new president to come in, and I don't know how much, how if at all Alexander Cartwright knows who Elizabeth Dooley is, and if he had any say on maybe she should step down or whatever. That's completely unclear. But the timing of it is a new president was picked last week, and now a week later, amid a pandemic with everyone online and everyone at home, she steps down for personal reasons. Again, I don't know what the investigation is, how much longer it has. It's still ongoing. Maybe she realizes she should stop putting up a fight and just accept what's going to happen for her. It's a little weird.
And you touched up on it a little bit earlier, but can you kind of just talk about what Dooley's new, not necessarily expanded, but what her new role looks like for the university moving forward?
Yeah, she'll return to the faculty at the College of Community Innovation and Education. I guess that means she'll be, I suppose, teaching classes it's a little unclear. She was granted a summer assignment for summer 2020, which I guess means she'll be, right away by the end of this, by the time we get to summer semester, this is effective on Friday, so I don't know exactly what that means, but, she was assigned to teach over the summer. So, she'll be part of the faculty at the college. And what role that is, I'm not entirely sure, but it is interesting to see that, while an ongoing investigation is still happening, they're willing to bring her on as a faculty member and not just get rid of her entirely. Keeping her around, I don't know entirely why that decision was made. Maybe they're considering the current economic, platform everyone's working under right now with tough times ahead for a lot of Americans. That could come into a possibility, but she'll be at the faculty at the College of Community Innovation Education.
And again, you kind of touched up on this a little bit as well earlier. What does Dooleys Pay look like moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm going to get a little technical here. We acquired the settlement agreement that was signed by Elizabeth Dooley and interim president Thad Seymour. And I'll just read right from it. Upon return to the faculty, as provided by the faculty administrator conversion to department and rank policy, Dooley shall be paid 81% of her current total compensation package of $470,000 for a 9-month appointment, according to the settlement agreement. So she had been on paid leave, and I read somewhere else that, and since the time from January 10th to today, she had earned $90,000 of paid leave. I don't know exactly what she's been doing for the past few months, but she's been somewhere getting paid this money, and she'll get 81.82% of her $407,400 contract. So she still is getting paid, again, even while an ongoing investigation is going into her. She stepped down as provost. It's interesting. I guess they're going to keep paying her provost money. Again, I'm not making those decisions or anything like that, or I don't know what goes into those decisions, but it's interesting to see that, again, amid everything else going on in the world right now.
And you bring it up, there is a lot going on. But what kind of this decision, what's that next step UCF and the university has to take after this kind of announcement's been made today?
Yeah, I think turning the page on a chapter in a long book for UCF that's gone back even to when Dale Whittaker was forced to resign. This idea of a scandalous university or just dark cloud hanging over the head of UCF, trying to get back in a good eye with the state legislature and the folks up in Tallahassee, and Dale Whittaker resigns, get an interim president who's done a pretty good job, and then you go on a year-long search and get a home run hire in a lot of folks' eyes with Alexander Cartwright. So that's one chapter closed. And then you have, out of nowhere, really, in the beginning of this semester with Elizabeth Dooley just being put on paid leave. That was just another thing added onto this. And now she's resigning and stepping down from that position she was previously in. So I think turning the page for UCF was really important. And like going back to what we said previously, the timing of this following the appointment of Alexander Cartwright, it does help UCF kind of go, okay, we're a different university from here on out.
And then, again, this is probably more of a speculative question than anything, but do you have any sort of insight on the timeline that we're looking at moving forward for this investigation?
I really don't. We've asked, Night News has asked. I don't know to what extent the Atlanta Sentinel has asked, but I know Night News has written about it. NSM Today has written about it. We've made a lot of requests, for more information. We do know who's, the University Compliance Office is doing the investigation. We still don't know exactly what they're looking into, besides the fact that they're fully understanding concerns that have been raised. I mentioned the anonymous Twitter account in the beginning. That could be it, but we really not it or not. On the record, at least publicly, they haven't said anything that indicates, it could be something completely separate. We really do not know. Elizabeth Dooley could have done something differently, or could have done what the anonymous Twitter account was claiming she said, the account said she did. Could have been a combination of both. In terms of this investigation, I kind of, at first when I was writing the article for NSM, which is on our website, if you want to read more details, and I recommend reading that story to get a fuller picture of, I don't think a lot of folks know what a provost is, to be honest with you. So we were curious. Yeah, I was curious when I was writing this article, does this mean the investigation is over? And I was kind of surprised to find out that it's still an ongoing investigation into her. So, I have to imagine maybe by the end of this semester it'll be wrapped up, or or over the summer. I mean, it's really hard to say exactly what that investigation entails, and how everyone being moved essentially home and working remotely, how that, possibly delays it or not. But overall, the university has been pretty adamant about not talking about what goes into the investigation, what they're even looking for. But we do know it's still going on, and she's switching roles at the university. So again, it's for personal reasons. Really interesting stuff.